All right, bet. Hey, I'm about to start the episode off with a joke, bro. You
All
ready?
right, let's hear it.
What does a deaf gynecologist do?
I don't know.
They read lips.
Okay, that's fair. No, that's fair.
Read lips. All right, bro. Let's get into it. All right. First story up. Avatar 2. Did you watch the first Avatar?
I
With the
was
blue
wondering.
people?
I was wondering the same thing, like if you actually watched it. So I like to attribute the first Avatar. That's the first movie that I fell asleep watching. So I started watching it, did not finish it, and I feel like it was like one of the longer movies at the time. It was like around 3 hours, right?
Yeah,
That
it
was
wasn't long.
pretty much unheard of at the time because it was before like Transformers started getting into like the 2.5 hour mark. Um, but like I hear talks all the time about how good it was, but in the moments that I was awake, I didn't see anything, worth going back and watching it for. So I have
So
not seen
you
all
ain't
the
rock with it like that. No, but the thing is that it was so popular because of the CGI, like the effects. Like that was the first way. Like I think besides Transformers, like there wasn't any other movies that was doing stuff like that. And Avatar, like they used like real people for, I mean the blue people. So well,
right.
I wonder how X-Men did it because then they had Mystique, right? Like I feel like that's similar.
It probably didn't take CGI. They probably just painted her.
Well,
It
yeah,
depends on which
yeah.
ones you're talking about too, though. She's blue too, but
Oh,
and I think
but
it
the
had a lot to
Avatar
do with the
character.
world too. I
Yeah,
think the
you're
world
right.
was really in depth, where she was just kind of walking around Earth. So you've seen it. How'd you like it?
Uh, I, I liked it. It was pretty good. Like, well, the thing with me is like I'll watch stuff and I don't remember like what I watched, but I remember Avatar being pretty good. It was pretty good. I didn't feel like it was like the greatest movie of all time or nothing, but it
Right.
was decent. But the second one is supposed to come out December 16th. Um, there was there was an interview basically that the director James Cameron did, and he basically got out there and said that the film, he these are his exact words, he said the film is quote very fucking expensive to make, and he basically said that like he doesn't know what the like he said it was the worst business case in movie history. So they said apparently to break even, they would need to make over $2 billion just to break even. And that's kind of crazy. So it's weird because so right now, Avatar is the all-time like
Right.
most grossing movie at 2.9 billion. Uh, the same director did Titanic, which is the third highest grossing film of all time,
Okay.
and that was 2.2 billion. The fourth highest was Avengers Infinity War for context, and that was like just over 2 billion. And that's cool, but like to plan to need 2 billion in revenue just to break even, like that's actually wild.
So what I want to know though, all right, 2.9. Let's say they hit. Let's say this becomes the top grossing one and it hits 3 billion. Is a billion not enough money to go around? Like, is that not like a let's pat ourselves on the back? We just made $1 billion. Is that not one of those situations, or is there too many people that need to get paid to where it's like, oh, this was a waste of time?
My thing is like imagine being a movie exec, right? Like you live in Hollywood, you invest in all these movies, you didn't put a million of your own dollars into making the next Avatar, and you hear your director in an interview. Hey, I don't know why these folks invested in this. This is the worst business case ever. Like, bro, I'm trying to get my money back ASAP. Like, why did nobody tell me? Now, I will say now because of the pandemic, because they've been making this movie for a while. Because of the pandemic, I think they were supposed to have it done either in 2020 or 2021, but because they ran into difficulties with the pandemic or whatever, it like extended out. But that's just crazy to need $2 billion to break even,
Yeah,
not to make a profit, to break even.
yeah, that is pretty insane. Again, I want to see the breakdown though. Like, if we make $1 billion off this movie, can we say is that success? We made like 500 million. Like, at what point is a movie successful? Because I see that. I mean, I get that the highest are in the 2 billion range. Like, what's average? Is it average a billion, or is average something in the hundreds of millions? The
Yeah.
other thing that's really interesting about this movie is that it's been so long since the first one has came out. Like, and I feel like the industry has changed in such a different way too, because this is the eye test. Because I personally don't watch too many movies. The last couple movies I've seen have all been the Marvel saga, and then like before then it was probably like something around like the lines of Think Like a Man. And Think Like a Man and Avatar, two completely different movies, but I feel like movies like Think Like a Man aren't really being made as much anymore. So all that to say, to come back and make a movie like Avatar that is, I guess, of a different time seems like a very bold thing to do, regardless of if you need $2 billion to break even.
Yeah, that's fair. They probably thinking of it like all the Disney movies, like what was it, Monsters Inc. And because they waited like 10 years before they made the sequel for that. Finding Nemo, Finding Dory. It was a good minute between those coming out. I think the third and the fourth Toy Story had a good minute. So maybe they feel like, and I could see why. Like if you have the highest grossing film of all time, I could see why you would think that, oh, we could go ahead and do it again. But the thing is, like, Avatar wasn't like, it wasn't a club. Like all those movies that I just mentioned, like the fans of those, you could think of them as belonging to a club. Like people that love Finding Nemo just love Finding Nemo. Like they love
Yeah.
everything about it. Same thing with Toy Story. Same thing with Avengers. Like all the Marvel movies. Like people that really like it. So it's a community at that point. Ain't nobody really talking about Avatar.
As we talk about it, I'm not really sure. I want to know how Avatar made it up there to begin with. Like, how is Avatar the highest grossing film? Another, like, I haven't seen Titanic. Have you?
I have.
Is Do you know how early in Leo's career Titanic was?
No, I don't. But it was
I,
pretty early.
I was about to say, I wonder if that played a big part into why Titanic was so big. I know one of the movies that we didn't mention that's on one of the list was top five. That I saw was top five was Star Wars: The Seventh Episode. So like the first one that released after the trilogy and the whatever the sequel. I guess I don't know, and that makes sense. Star Wars has a huge fan base. Infinity Wars, Marvel, huge fan base. But I don't know how they're gonna get the 2 billion on the Avatar movie. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I don't know how they did the first time.
Yeah, man. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Next up,
Hold on,
we
wait.
got. Oh, go
Before
ahead.
we move on movies in general, do you consider yourself a big movie person? Like, do you watch a lot of movies?
Do I consider myself a big? No, I don't. Like, it's really got to be something special for me to like watch. You know what? Actually, I just saw the trailer for the next Transformers movie. That joint actually looks pretty cool. Like,
They're
I,
still
I
making
might.
Transformers movies.
Yeah, they are. They are, and that joint actually looks pretty hard. Is kind of nice, bro.
Would
You
you
gotta
go
check
see
it
it
out.
in theaters though?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to see it in theaters. I don't think I would watch it if it's just at home. I don't think I'm going to watch it if I miss seeing it in theaters.
That's very interesting. I feel like it's that's I think that goes to another point. Like the pandemic did such a number on it, streaming services do such a number on the movie industry that I just like. Is anybody gonna make $2 billion on a movie? Endgame made it, and one of the lists I saw, Endgame was up there, was pretty high.
Mhm.
I don't remember if that was pre-pandemic or post-pandemic though, or like mid-pandemic. I think it was pre. Yeah, it was definitely pre. And Infinity Wars, that was pre. So like, I feel like that would have been at the height of like the movie industry. So like to see now, where I don't really know who's going to the movie theaters to like really see movies anymore. 2 billion gonna be a hard thing to follow. And then the only thing that I asked, another reason I asked about movies was just because I personally don't really watch movies. TV shows are already like short movies at this point, so
Thanks.
I haven't really seen anything outside of like the Avengers movie, like the Marvel movies that I've just really wanted to watch. And even them, I just went to go see Black Panther. It was cool, but probably would not go watch any of the other Marvel movies in theater. And I feel like that's more telling of the movie industry in general. I saw this movie Bullet Train. That was
Oh,
cool, but I saw it on a plane. I probably would not have went to the movie to see that either.
but I don't know if that's more of the movie industry or that's like the theater industry. Well, I mean, maybe they're one and the same,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like a theater, like that's not really an experience. You know what I'm saying? Like the movie has to be right. Like, okay, let me think about how to explain this. Like, all right, so here's something that they've been doing, I don't know, in the last couple of years. Like some concerts, they'll do like a 3D image of the person, right? And that's kind of cool. But it depends on the type of arena that you're in, the type of music that like the person is playing. Because like if you got a 3D like artist and they sitting on the stool playing guitar, like that's not gonna be that interesting. You know what I'm saying? I want a
Yeah.
3D person that's gonna like jump into the crowd and it's like, you know, explodes or something. Like something crazy. You gotta be able to do something with it. But I feel like for movies, like the theaters, they don't give enough of an experience for me to enjoy a movie unless it's a movie that can be enjoyed in theaters. Does that make sense?
That makes sense as to why like the Marvel movies are cool to watch. We went and saw Endgame together. That's cool because like when Thor gets that hammer, you hear everybody in the theater is
Yeah.
cheering. Like that's fine. You're right. You're right. You're not gonna get that with like something like Bullet Train because that's just not the type of movie that is. But think about all that went into making the Marvel movies. This is years movies to get to a point where like
Facts.
when Thor shows up in Infinity War, the crowd is cheering, and like everybody is leaving that theater like sad and hurt because they all died. Like we lost.
Mm.
Our heroes went to war and we lost. Like we've never seen that before. That's probably why that's my favorite Marvel movie. And then like in Endgame, all right, Captain America gets the hammer. Like this is lit. Everybody who died shows up. This is lit. But you're not getting that in any other movie. And then like movies on an individual basis, like when I went to go see Black Panther, there's not much that can really happen over the course of a movie that can tell that kind of story to elicit that kind of emotion. So like
Mm.
I all that to say, I find it very hard for a one-off movie to elicit that kind of emotion to where it would be an enjoyable experience as opposed to me watching it at home, even if
Mm.
it's a month, 2 months, 3 months later than when it came
But
out.
but I feel like even that like but like you said, it's been a long series of them making those movies, but even the first one was still pretty cool to watch in theaters. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there had to be something about like those early ones, even though like they hadn't established the brand yet, it was still something about it that was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, for example, I didn't watch this in theaters, but the Fast and Furious, like the first one, like I feel like that would have been pretty fun to watch in theaters.
I can agree with you, but it was a different time. There wasn't no streaming
That's fair.
services.
Oh
DVD, it
yeah.
might come out like a year in DVD. Like it's gonna be forever. So like at that point, going to the movies was the main thing. I remember like a couple summers they would have like showings like every Tuesday and Thursday. You go to the movie theaters,
Yeah.
watch a movie pretty
Yeah.
cheap. Like that was a thing. I don't know if they do that anymore. And
That's
then
fair.
like it was just a thing. Like people went to the movie theaters to watch movies because that was basically the only way you could, except for going to get an old movie from Blockbusters.
Mm. Oh yeah.
So it was just a different time. So like Iron Man, I saw it at Blockbusters. I didn't see it at I have rented it from Blockbusters. I didn't see it in the movie, but I can understand somebody going to see it at the time. Same with Dark Knight. I can understand them going to see a movie at that time, but just a different time. Now I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm gonna have to see on the screen and be like, you know what? I'm going to the movie theater to see this. And then there's so
Feels like
much other
no.
stuff to watch too. Like,
Yeah.
I can watch this movie, this show, and this show to carry me over to the 3 months till they come off on streaming services. And I don't recommend this to anybody, but there are people who pirate movies. And so it's like, I can wait like 2 weeks for this to come out on some website and watch it. And you didn't have that at the time.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, good luck to them folks. Last thing I was gonna say though, because I mentioned Transformers, I was watching the trailer for Transformers, and they had Bumblebee in there, and I was like, yo, can we get one movie where Bumblebee don't get his ass whooped? Like, please. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see a movie. We go through the whole thing, and he don't get decapacitated, and he's like, you know what I'm saying? He's still intact. Everybody get beat up a little bit, but they be bullying that man in that franchise. But dog, that's crazy.
Bumblebee reminds me of Vision, man, and Infinity Wars. It's up for Bumblebee every single movie on trailers, bro. So do you often watch trailers?
Nah. It's got to be when I see the like thumbnail for the trailer, I have to be like, oh, I feel like this is something I would watch. Not, yeah, it's rare.
As far as the trailer or as far as the movie?
Both. Like the snapshot of that they're showing me has to look interesting enough for me to be like, all right, let me actually see what this is about. And then it has to be like, oh, this movie would be interesting enough for me to go and find it to watch. Because like if I'm just scrolling through Netflix one day and the movie's on there, all right, I might check it out. But like for me to go watch a trailer for something, I gotta be looking for it. Like I gotta want to watch the movie.
All right, and then what about for TV shows? Do you watch trailers for TV shows? Like some show that you're watching, they're coming out with season 4. You watching the trailer for that?
Yeah, if I'm already watching the series, yeah.
Interesting. Go ahead.
I don't look for it, but like it'll pop up sometimes, and I'll be like, oh, because it's a good reminder for me. Like that's why I'll watch it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is coming.
That's so interesting because I don't watch trailers at all, bro. So especially for TV shows, like if I'm already gonna watch the TV show, I don't want to spoiling nothing in the trailer. So like I'm not gonna watch the trailer. And then for movies, the same thing is like, well, it's not even a spoiling thing because I feel like because I don't watch movies like that. But one movie trailer that I recently watched, I watched the Black Panther one. That was pretty cool. The first one, not the second one. The second one wasn't that good to me. And then I watched the one for the new Guardians of the Galaxy. But the one for the Guardians, I watched that and I was like, I still have no idea what this movie's gonna be about. Like that's why I watched it. I was like, all right, let me watch this trailer to see if like I might want to watch it. Watched it, no idea. But I was just curious because, like I said, I don't watch trailers just because it's a TV show. I'm already gonna watch it. And then if it's a movie, I'm probably not gonna watch the movie anyways.
Fair enough. Next up, so all right, there's been a lot of folks talking about Elon Musk because of Twitter, all that junk that's been going on. But another one of his companies, Neuralink, is actually set to start implanting chips in humans within the next 6 months, which is kind of crazy. So,
Very crazy.
Yeah, Elon has a company, Neuralink. They've been actually talking to the FDA, working on a number of different, implants that could go into human beings, ideally, right? That could go into human beings and cure a number of diseases, help humans like be better integrated with technology, like the applications. I mean, obviously you can kind of think of like what type of dystopian future would come out of that. But they've been doing trials I think they've been doing it testing it out on monkeys, which is crazy. They actually caught some heat about that from, folks, animal cruelty and all
PETA.
that. Yeah. But yeah, so they've been talking to the FDA about moving to human trials, and apparently it is going well enough that they announced that they're planning for and this is Elon Musk company, not the FDA. The FDA ain't said nothing. But Elon Musk company is basically announced that they're planning for human trials within 6 months. And so I don't know if you know, but the way Elon Musk does, I wonder like how does this man do all of this stuff? Because the way he announces this, he basically does like a Apple style like conference. Where it's like, yeah, he comes out on stage, it's like a whole thing, and he does that for Tesla too, like all this stuff. But it's like this man is like running like 5 different companies. Like, where you have the time to do that? And this literally happened like the other day. Like, we in the beginning of December now. It happened like November 20 something. Um, but basically, the chip would allow a person with certain medical conditions to basically like control a mouse on a screen, or be able to do other things based on like their brain waves. It requires some surgery, which is like apparently more invasive than other kind of methods of surgery that people are used to. But basically, they had to take a piece of your skull out. It had wires implanted into your like the tissue in your brain to so that like it actually works and it can transmit everything the way it's supposed to work. But I don't know, man. This is a crazy story. What do you think about this?
Man, so my mind immediately goes dystopian. It's like, how do you trust somebody to put a chip into your brain? It's like, I feel like at any moment somebody can just hit the dead man switch, like, yep, they're out of here. And like it's in your, you're like, it's in your brain. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
it goes dystopian very fast. The second thing is, I wonder what, and I hope this doesn't sound as negative as it does in my head. Like, I wonder what your life has to be like to sign up for a trial like this, because
go ahead.
Because this is pretty crazy. Like, this is very far out there. So like, you have to believe that the risk is greater than the reward. I mean, that the reward is greater than the risk. So I wonder what like the state is for you to sign up for something like this. And then the last thing, and I'm gonna let you dive more into that, is that once this eventually gets figured out, I wonder how long it'll be or what it will take for somebody. Oh, and let me make a guess right now. I'm assuming that the people who are like signing up for this, like they have some kind of serious medical condition. Like somebody might be a paraplegic, anything of that nature. That's the assumption that I'm making ahead of time. So then I wonder if, like, for it to become mainstream, I wonder what the benefit has to be, or how great the benefit is for somebody that isn't in one of those circumstances to be like, you know what, I'll get this chip done as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you answered your question, but like for them to be able to consider what kind of demographic this would be, or even just like how to get this to be adopted by the public in general, it they would have had to do some research into like what are the best use cases, and the best use case that they've come up with so far is for people that like maybe you're experiencing symptoms of a stroke, so you know you can't communicate like when you're having a stroke, or like it's like some type of debilitating disease where you can't communicate for some reason, but it could be life or death in that situation, right? Like pretty pretty critical situation. And I feel like that makes sense because it allows them to kind of see how it allows them to see like how it works, improve like whatever, but also it like gets the general public kind of more used to the product, used to, you know, folks having stuff in their brain, like whatever, whenever they come up with like the next use case. I don't know what that could be though. Like I don't know what the next use case could be.
So let me ask you, at what point, like, what does this thing have to do for you to be like, yeah, I need one of those chips in my brain? Like, what does it have to be? Like, do you have to have the internet installed into your brain so you can basically know everything? Like, what has to be the situation?
I gotta be able to program the chip. Nah, I don't even trust it right now. I need like I need that junk to be able to, when I plug this junk in, I need to know everything that the person that made the chip knows instantly. So then I can like rewrite the program and figure out like, yo, is this person messing with me or am I good? You know what I'm saying? Like I need to instantly become as smart as the people that made the chip.
But what do you need to be able to do? Okay, like that happens. What do you need to be able to do that's so different from your life now that this was worth any potential risk?
I don't know. It's not worth it for me, dog. I can't see myself like No, bro. Implanted is it what the first thing I thought of when I read the story was the show that we watched
Years and
what was
years.
it? Years and Years. Yeah. That show was crazy. Like the girl went and got like the stuff implanted in her hand
Spoiler
so she
alert.
could use it as a yeah, spoiler alert, but she got it in her hand so she could use it as a phone, like all that stuff. It's just crazy. I don't this is
I
not
don't
for
need to
me,
be able to
man.
do that.
Bro, that's what I'm
I'm cool
saying,
picking up a
man.
phone.
Like
I'm cool picking up a phone and calling.
and then what's gonna happen is they gonna be like it's, it's gonna be like in 100 years they're gonna be like, oh, if you got this product implanted, you might be eligible
For some financial compensation, bro.
because you got brain cancer now or something like that. Like I
Uh,
don't know, bro.
all I can think about, bro, is like most people getting this and somebody hitting us with the meanest counter UAV. And now all our electronic frequencies are scrambled, and we have this whole population of people that just can't do nothing anymore because
Hit you
it's
with an EMP or something, and you
like,
done.
bro, they hit us with a counter UAV, bro.
No. Can you actually imagine that? Like you chilling, y'all, you had a game to come, and all you say, y'all, what's that? It's an EMP. And all y'all just sleep.
Bro, that is so crazy. Like, I just really want to know. So, like, in the worst of circumstances, like, it makes sense. Now you can do basic things. Now you can do potentially life saving things. But I don't need to know everything in the world. Like, I just don't need to know that. That's not going to benefit me on a day to day.
But you could have access. I mean, like this is assuming like it gets connected into internet and technology, and it can like upload. It can upload stuff to you. Because right now, and I don't know. This is actually a good question. I don't know because right now the product is designed to download signals from your brain to something else. I don't know if it also uploads information from something to your brain.
Okay. Yeah, I don't, bro. I just don't know. I can't see the benefit of it. And then even so, I was telling you yesterday, Joe Rogan, he was interviewing this guy named John Carmack. I think it's Carmack, but it might be Mick Carmack. But Mick Carmack doesn't sound right. One sec. Yeah, it's Carmack, and he works with like Oculus Quest and stuff like that. And so he was trying to figure out like at what point would people be willing to wear like a headset in their everyday life. And I'm still so like if it's sunglasses, if it's just like you can just like take a pair of sunglasses and get all the benefits like of augmented reality or VR or whatever. I can see people doing that because if you don't want it, you can just take it off. But even if you do decide to use that, how much is the benefit to like how much is your life being enhanced by this? Maybe when driving, that might be one use case if the artificial intelligence in the car isn't already good enough, or I don't like that's what I can think of. So I just don't see in either case the benefits being great enough. And
What? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then like let's say the benefits are there, and then everybody does get this. I wonder how that would change life in general because now I feel like everybody would basically playing on the same playing field. So then at that point, what happens?
Well, see, with stuff like this, like with new technology, it's never going to be like available to the public at the same time. One thing that I could potentially see, like obviously the military is going to go for it. Government, military defense,
Yeah.
like all that, always going to do it. But so Neuralink also has like two other implants that they're working on. One is a visual implant that would restore vision to like people that are totally blind, and then the other is an implant um, that would go in the spinal cord and could restore movement to somebody that's been paralyzed. Now, what's interesting is like all of these use cases are designed to like fix something or something of that nature, like repair something. Um, it'd be interesting to see when they make the leap from repairing or fixing to enhancing or modifying, because I think then that opens up a lot of different use cases, right? Like you then like you and again this is probably like at least 50 to 75 years out, but like if you're able to combine a brain implant, a vision implant, and a spine cord implant that like controls how you move, think about the application that would have in like sports. Like we could do a bunch of completely different sports, play sports in a way that we haven't played before, right? Like if you are, you know what I'm saying, you a running back and you're trying to see the whole, you got this vision that like helps you process information, data like faster, whatever. Like it could just be a whole different, it could open up. And of course, this is like super like cyberpunk, like weird kind of environment. But that could be one possibility. Like I said, military could be one, but I don't know. Like, would you ever like play sports if they were like, all right, we gotta fit you with these computer enhancements?
I think that takes away from the sport. So you're trying to be perfect, and if you can get to perfect, if if you can get to perfect through like artificial intelligence or some kind of artificial enhancement, then theoretically speaking, everybody could. And then what does a perfect game look like? It would probably be pretty trash. So I see the open man and the receipt and the DB sees the open man. And now I know that. So like what happened, like it's gonna be too perfect. So I think a lot of the fun of probably life as well as games, well, games as well as life in general, is the imperfections and the strive for perfection. So if we can artificially create that perfection, I think we lose what makes that part of it fun. Now the first person who gets it, they probably gonna be fun, and it's probably gonna be cold to see. Like this, everybody's gonna want to see this guy who is like just a beast. And then I think too at that point that you can play a sport like that with that enhancement. I think the closer we move to replacing that sports with video games. So I mean, in my head, I can already see now like because of like injuries and things like that, as this field grows, like there is no chance of getting an injury. You can stay home. You can play it from like the confines of your air conditioner. The popularity of it grows, and then like the risk reward just shifts in the direction of like making it into a video game. Now you have these enhancements instead of playing it in real life. Might as well play it in a video game. That's kind of how I see it would go.
All right. I think you're thinking about it like in terms of the way sports are played today. I'm thinking like the sport itself is going to change. Like the rules are going to change, the objectives are going to change. Like all of that is going to change when I think about it. I don't know how. It could be a completely different game for all I think about. But I think it's like this is the progression that I see happening, right?
Okay.
Because we are already starting to get technology more involved in sports by refereeing to the point where a lot of decisions are very like millimeters off. Like there's a certain level of perfection that humans can get to, and there's a level of perfection that we just will never get to. And I
Right.
agree. Introducing technology in the sports like takes away from that because like before it used to be like there's controversy. Like, bro, that man he didn't catch that ball. His foot was, you know what I'm
Never
saying? Like his
know.
foot was on the line. And it just is what it is. But now, oh no, it was like
Definitely.
half a centimeter. He was out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you could tell that. But now that then makes it like there's a possibility for it to be even with the technology for them to be able to analyze and say, all right, I need to be able to process and put my foot in this exact position or whatever the case is. So that's why I say like I feel like it could happen. I don't think it's even if it does, it's definitely later rather than sooner.
I got you. It's so funny because like as in talking about like games and how much like video review and things make things change. Like you think, not to get too deep, but you think that something like that or like more technology is better, and then at some point you're gonna get to the point where you realize, oh, this is worse, and you're gonna revert back to how it was played originally. You're gonna have these cameras, but you're not gonna go review anything. It's just gonna have to pass that eye test. But
Yeah.
it's so interesting to see that you have something at the beginning and then you try to make improvements until you think what makes it perfect, and then you get there and realize that what was perfect was somewhere closer to what you had at the beginning. Just an interesting thing to like think about and consider.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one?
Neuralink, 2050, when it hits the market, I will not be getting it. I can keep that. I already know this EMP. I'm talking about it's gonna, bro. I'm talking about like that is the easiest kill streak to get on Call of Duty. Now imagine that being able to like conquer the world with it because of these chips. Like Boom. Counter UAV in the area, and that's it. You can't see nothing. Can't do nothing. It's over it.
Over it.
You're talking about a 200-point kill streak.
All right. Last story we got. FTX. So this is huge. Anybody that follows crypto, even if you don't follow crypto, you know that crypto has been having a really shit year. And one of the things that's been happening is a lot of the exchanges. I can't even say a lot, but FTX, which is a major crypto exchange.
Right quick. My bad to interrupt. Right quick. Can you break down what a crypto exchange is?
Yeah, so a crypto exchange is basically it's the same thing as a regular exchange. So like if you trade stocks, right? Like you can trade on the Nasdaq, you can trade like the Dow Jones. Like it's an exchange, it's a platform that allows you to trade. And there are different types of exchanges, right? It's different because with the what's it called, with stocks, like that's been around for like years, right? Like not centuries, I don't know, it's been around for a long time. It's been around for a long time.
About a century, yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah, about a century. um but like you've got, like I said, the Nasdaq, you've got the New York Stock Exchange, and those might be the only ones. But like crypto, because it's like has started getting more popular in like the last decade or so. um when technology has been around, they're able to create a lot more exchanges. So now you got the resources, the technology, and the know-how. You could pretty much build your own exchange. And then with the idea and concept of crypto being decentralized, meaning that no one entity has control over it. Like the idea is that, oh, I can take my money and go trade on this exchange if I want to, or I could go put it here if I feel like this is a better place for my money to be, or whatever the case is, right? There's like the technology, and this is the technology behind crypto is the blockchain. But the blockchain technology is what allows that to, even though like you're taking your money and moving it at will, there's like a system, a ledger that essentially logs all the transactions. And it's the same, it's uniform for everybody, because basically the problem would be if you say, all right, I'm investing 50 grand, on this exchange, and then you say, all right, I'm gonna take out 40 grand and invest, for that 40 grand in this exchange. If that company's keeping their own record, they could just be like, nah, you didn't take out no money. But then this company's like, oh yeah, you gave us 40 grand. So there has to be like one kind of centralized way of accounting and keeping track of all of those transactions, which is what blockchain is. But
so would it be safe to say that it's like when the US dollar is backed by gold, like this is the physical asset behind?
Yes, crypto would be the asset behind like blockchain technology. Like that's like the problem, and this is why a lot of people like are upset. Well, this is why some like finance folks didn't really like crypto at first, because there is nothing blocking it. Like the challenge with currency is that like currency is man-made. Like it's something that exists because you and I both say, all right, this dollar means something. The reason that it was previously backed by gold was because that was a way to, tether it to say, all right, like there's only so much gold in the world. So, what I'm saying, it has to be worth a certain amount. But with currency in general, it's just based on how people agree to it. Now, crypto, like for example, Bitcoin, there's a set number of Bitcoin that can be mined totally, and then there's a set number of Bitcoin that's out in the world now, and and every period of time, like after a period of time, a little bit more Bitcoin is released into the world to allow for more people to kind of own it and allow Bitcoin to scale. But that's kind of where it gets its value from, but it's not it's not a physical like the way gold is or anything. So it just kind of adds another layer of complexity to it.
Okay.
All right, but so FTX collapsed recently, so the exchange basically shut down. So that's, like I said, imagine the New York Stock Exchange or the Nasdaq basically being like, "Hey, we're broke. We can't. We." I know y'all was like all y'all were trading on this platform, but we're broke. So that the exchange shut down. And go ahead.
And at this point, you can't put any money in. You can't take any money out.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't put any money on the platform anymore. I would certainly hope not. And a lot of people, if you had your money in there, uh it's gone. So and that's like that's the big thing. Like they filed for bankruptcy. Um and what's been going on is so the owner or the founder, Sam Bankman Fried, um basically essentially ran off with like $1 billion in customer funds, over $1 billion in customer funds, and owes like $10 billion. Like so, the way it works, and let me kind of break this down. So Sam Bankman-Fried, they call him SBF. He's 30 years old. First off, which is crazy. Like he's young. Like this man is like
Yeah,
it's not like he's what I'm saying.
50,
He's
60.
right. He's 30. He started his company back in 2017. It started the crypto exchange back in 2017. It was pretty interesting. Like he was saying, especially because crypto hasn't been around that long. But when it started, he was saying like, when I first got into crypto, I didn't know anything, right? And now I built this whole exchange. It's super popular. Like that was one of his kind of claims to fame was like he got smart about crypto because he believed in it and thought it was the thing for the future.
Right.
Um, Both of his parents are professors at Stanford. They're also lawyers. His mom has 3 degrees from Harvard. His dad went to Berkeley for undergrad, went to law school at Yale, has written legislation for Elizabeth Warren. SBF himself graduated from MIT. So this is like a smart guy, right? Like this
Right.
guy, he comes from smart folks, comes from like he's super connected, all of that. Um, and he basically had the FTX exchange, and the way like some of the things that went wrong, right, was that there's a sister company called Alameda, right, which is a hedge fund that trades, or that manages people's money and all that stuff. And basically, what's being said is that SBF basically took money from FTX and put it into Alameda to kind of prop up their revenue and their income. Like Alameda wasn't doing so well because like there was a bunch of traders and finance people that like just weren't doing well. And so he took money from FTX and put it into Alameda. Alameda started going down, FTX started going down, and he wasn't able to kind of recover. And the issue with this is, right, like when you invest, because that's actually really wild, right? Like
Right.
imagine you are investing your stocks and they say, oh, bet, I think Walmart is doing great. We're gonna take your money that you're investing in your stocks and give it all to Walmart, and Walmart goes down, like that, that's
Right.
it, right? Walmart would probably get mad that I mentioned
Right.
it.
Well, no,
But
why would you throw our name out there to go down?
but that's basically like you take the money that's in the exchange that people are trading, um, and put it in company X or whatever, and that company just doesn't do it. And there's actually so the issue is like uh when you the reason that this can't happen when you're trading stocks is because their stock market is regulated. So that's like government agencies, there are agencies that are dedicated to saying like, all right, if something crazy happens, and a lot of this is because of like the 2008 crash and all of that.
Right.
But these are the rules that are saying you can't do this, you can't do that. And one of those rules is you can't take customer funds to invest somewhere else.
Right.
You can, like, you have to have at least enough money to cover all of the customer funds. So, like, even if you're like trying to leverage it or whatever, like, you have to have enough in the bank to be like, all right, here's your money back. Um, and they basically blatantly broke that rule. And they even had it in their own terms and conditions, like on the FTX terms and conditions, it says we're not going to spend your money anywhere else. And then that's exactly what they
What
went
they
and
did.
did.
And
So go ahead.
and then it sounds like, so what's the implications here? Because it sounds like it wasn't that, oh, we see this company that should, like, we did our research on it, the projections say that it's going to do in the billions, this is a good return on investment. Sounds like he took it and basically gave it to his best friend. So like, what's the implications there?
Oh,
Like,
that man's going to jail. Oh, he's toast. That man
but
is toast. He's done
but
for
from,
fuck.
from what I've seen though, it doesn't seem like he's told. Like, is the research still like being done, or like from what I've seen? I haven't done too much. Disclaimer: I haven't done too much research into it. Just see it on my TL every now and then. It seems like this man has been doing like interviews and like been getting basically the red carpet treatment ever since. So like, is he a criminal or like in going to jail, or is it like, you win some, you lose some? I gave
You
a,
know
a good
what?
fight.
This is where people are starting to get upset now because yeah, so like when this first came out, when it was like, oh crap, like this guy is like he basically ran off on the plug. Everybody's like, yo, this is like horrible. This is like Bernie Madoff. This was like
Mm-hmm.
the Enron scheme. This was like the stuff that people were comparing it to the mortgage collapse of
Right.
2007, 2008, right? Like all of this stuff, people were saying it was that level of bad. And now, because the theory is that because SBF basically was perpetuating like this idea of, he called it effective altruism, of like, I'm a good person. He donated to all of these causes. He donated to a bunch of politicians and their campaigns. He had a lot of celebrities, a lot of public like really popular business people endorsing him. Like he had a great network. And so now what it's seeming like is that he's getting a little bit of a pass to kind of try and
Mm.
explain it and frame the narrative in a way that is slightly more favorable, because there's no like he's like it's bad. um
Right.
but he's trying to frame it in a way that's less like that's slightly less bad than, he was knowingly doing all of this stuff, and he knowingly like this was a con, and he's trying to kind of frame it more as he was just ignorant. Now, mind you, both of his parents are
Right.
professors at Stanford.
Yep.
He graduated from MIT. Like this man knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going for that.
So
And go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I was about to say what. So regardless, like, where do we draw the line? Like, let's just say that he very well intentioned. Do you like where do we draw the line at that though? Like, okay, yeah, you was well intentioned, you still broke the law, or was fraudulent, or however you want to put it, broke your contract. Like, are we throwing you in jail, or are we gonna make you pay it $10 billion or however many $1 billion back? Like, at what point do you draw the line though?
That's what's going to be up to the people that's investigating this to decide, because I like, and there's so much evidence, against this. Like, so when it came out, there were some screenshots that were released a couple of days after he had resigned as CEO, when he was talking to a journalist, and he basically was like, he said something along the lines of, uh, yeah, we woke Westerners have to say the right things to be able to like do the things that we want to do. He said this to the
Okay.
journalist. And then like a couple days later, somebody had asked him about it, like, no, a few days ago, somebody asked him about it, and he basically said, oh, that was a conversation with an old, like, longtime friend that he just happened to forget was a journalist. Like, bruh, what are you talking? Like the person in the thread, the thread of, because they work for a publication, so they gave like the full, like, this is our whole conversation that we had. In the thread, the person was referencing, oh yeah, I remember this interview that we did, 2 years ago. You said this. Do you still feel that way? How do you feel about like altruism? Were you just pretending to be woke, or were you just pretending to say
Right.
these things? Like this person it was an interview. Like this person was very clearly asking questions. So if you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that was just a conversation with an old friend that I forgot was a journalist. Like this man is not stupid, bro. This man is not stupid. He knows exactly what he's doing. So I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna draw the line on this one. I mean, and that's the other thing too, is that it kind of shows, one, the level of access you can have if you're on the inside. Like if you got the right connections, you kind of grew up with the right the right money, the right people, like know the right things to say, like you can get away with so much. You
Yeah.
look the right way, because bruh, if you and me try to do some stuff like this, like we wouldn't have raised anywhere near enough. This man created something that was big enough for his net worth to be $26.5 billion at the height of FTX. Jay-Z's net worth is $1.4 billion. Ray Dalio, I know you know him, a popular businessman. His net worth is $22 billion.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg is $67 billion. So this man created in what, 5-6 years, technology that ballooned his net worth to a third the size of Mark Zuckerberg, and was a complete fraud, got away with it, and now is still being allowed to explain himself in a way that's like, hey, I just didn't know what I was doing. Bro, we don't get that same level of fail. That's what like, bro. Oh, you know what's crazy? The somebody apparently has been following an author has been following SBF around for like the last 6 months,
right?
And to like basically write a book. I don't know why he agreed to that. I don't understand that. But like as soon as this jump, you said what?
Keep up appearances.
Heck yeah. But as soon as all of the story dropped, that person was apparently shopping around the rights to make a movie out of it. So that man's trying to get rich. As soon as all this jump broke, like I'm talking about 2 days after, I heard like, oh, if you're trying to make a movie, you know, this person is the person to contact because they looking into, they got all the details of the last 6 months from SBF.
If I'm not mistaken, bro, the dude from Firefest went to jail, and that legit was I'm trying to like basically brute force this experience here. He might not have went to jail. I don't know anymore. But you know what the Firefest thing is, right? Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he got in trouble for that, and he just tried, like, that was really a case of trying to brute force like an experience. And this is less than $1 billion worth of stuff. We're talking about like a lot of money here, and like you can just, hey, you know, it is what it is. It didn't work. That's insane. I wonder what the fallout will be in the coming weeks, or I wonder if, you know, the FTC or like whatever governmental agency that falls under will get involved. If I'm part of the person like you owe me millions of dollars, like I'm pulling everything I can, like something needs to go down here.
That's how it happens. So like when you file for bankruptcy, they have to get involved, especially like when you like a big company like that. So like right now they're going through all of the documents, doing like all of the accounting to like see like where is there any money left, what assets can they sell, like what can be done to get as much money back to, you know, the shareholders, the investors as possible. And so like that's the SEC is involved in that. The CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, is involved in that. And that's kind of the process they're going through now. And I think they have to, I don't know if they have to finish that before they do like the criminal investigation, or if that stuff is kind of going to happen at the same time, or how that works. But all of that junk is real crazy because, I mean, honestly, like the people that like were trading on the exchange, they're not going to get their money. Like if you only had $1,000 in that time, you're not getting your money back, you know?
Nope.
Like, but that might have been your only. I sure hope
only $1,000, dog.
I hope not, bro. But you know, that's crazy, man. That is really wild.
It's it's a lot of theories going around, bro. I know we're not here to just like push theories or anything. It's a lot. I've seen like a lot of interesting stuff. Just on my timeline about like, you know, why he's been able to basically get the red carpet treatment, things like that. All that to say, I'm just interested to see how it plays out in the coming weeks / months.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. It's gonna be wild. I'm gonna be following this one just to see what happens. See if he. I mean, there's no way. I mean, I feel like you can't say there's no way anything can happen in America anymore. But it would be really, really hard and extremely irresponsible on a lot of people's parts if he was able to get away with this. Because like it was bad that he got this far. Like the fact that he got this far means that the media, news outlets, because they were interviewing him, they were giving him a platform. They didn't do due diligence. Celebrities, and you can't really blame the celebrities, but like
There's
they
like
had a lot
regular
of
people.
endorsements,
Yep.
and they were all supporting it. A lot of public businessmen. What's his name? Kevin O'Leary, the guy from Shark Tank,
Mm.
Mr. Wonderful.
Mm.
He was out there talking about this man might be the greatest, like the smartest crypto person in the room right now. He personally invested a lot of money and lost a lot of money in there, but he was
Mhm.
endorsing it as well. And then you got like the venture capital firms that were investing in him, that like their
Mm.
job is to do due diligence before they invest in something like this. And then to talk about the government agencies, like, yeah, SEC and CFTC, they're investigating now, but the part of it is like they've been slow and hesitant to to get involved with crypto to begin with,
Yep.
and so now it's like when you have stuff like this, happening. Well, I mean, of course you're gonna have stuff like this when there isn't, any set of rules to play by. So it's
Which
just it's crazy.
which simultaneously becomes the death of crypto because it's supposed to be unregulated. So like something like
Yeah.
this just basically tears out the very fabric of it. Now you're getting government agencies. If you come in to prevent something like that from happening again, you're beginning to regulate it. And the point where it starts getting regulated is like, well, I can get drawn anywhere.
Yeah.
But
And
that's crazy.
that's the challenge. That's the challenge, and
Oh,
that they don't want to, like, the government has been resistant to kind of lean in to, like, and work with these companies to kind of figure out a way to put guidelines, because from the government's perspective, if they're not controlling 100% of it, what's the point, right?
right.
And like you said, the point of crypto is to kind of be away from that. So I don't know if there's a balance. I mean, there are like regulated players that stick to the rules. Like Coinbase is one of them.
Mm.
Like they've been one of the oldest and longest kind of institutions around, and they've kind of grown to kind of be this powerhouse platform that is known for being safe, trustworthy, and really being that home, that, I don't know, what's the saying when you like, anyway, the popular name in crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That so they're self-regulating, correct?
I think so.
Like in a sense. So
I think
like,
so. Yeah.
we don't have to play by these rules, but we're gonna choose to play by these rules because we know that at the end of the day, people are only gonna put their money where they trust. And these rules are here, and like if we play by these rules ahead of time or like close to these rules, then there is no need for government interference. But the thing I was gonna say prior to was that this really is like the biggest story happening right now from a effect point of view, not like a media point of view. Like, because a lot of people don't know that this is happening. It's not being talked about a lot. So that's not what I mean by big, but like this is huge news. Like I remember being a kid and hearing the Bernie Madoff story on 60 Minutes. Like this should be what's on 60 Minutes, but like we said, like we mentioned earlier, instead he's on 60 Minutes. Like again, hey man, things happen, which is crazy. And then
That's wild.
but
And
it, but
then,
it
the day after the story like broke and crypto started, or like the FTX exchange started going down, the day after is when basically a couple $1 billion like disappeared from FTX accounts, like customer funds. And now he's talking about, oh yeah, stuff happens. Bro, what?
no, bro, like money don't know,
What do you
bro.
mean stuff happens?
Find our
This
money.
man was living in the Bahamas for how many months, bro? Living life with his friends. He, like, bruh, had his friends out there, his employees. They was out there throwing parties. And now he gonna talk about stuff happens?
What
Come on,
happens?
man. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that's insane, bro. Fallout definitely has to be huge from this. Definitely need to see some. I'm gonna be interested to see what happens. I would expect jail time. I don't think Bernie is ever getting out of jail. Bernie Madoff. I don't think he's ever getting out of jail. I would expect something similar, but I'll have to do a little bit more digging to see if it's not as bad as it sounds.
Hmm. Yeah. Who knows, man? Who knows? Anything else on this one?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to see what happens next. Maybe have to come back on a future episode and be like, well, they got, ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
Yeah, we got to talk about that one again.
Definitely looking forward to see what happens with it.